With over 1,000 minifigures in the vault of Ninjago, you find that certain characters have more than others. Some people get ones off, some ninja, for example, get literal dozens. But the thing is that there are other characters that have a decent amount of entries. And one of those is actually Harumi. She has had 7 different entries over the course of Ninjago, each of them representing different states of her character at the respective point in time. There is no overlap when it does come to Harumi minifigures, which I do think is fairly interesting. But it does ask the begging question, of those 7, which are the better Harumi minifigures? How did her minifigures evolve over time? Is there a favourite? Is there a least favourite? And honestly, I think that is very interesting to look at. So what we are going to do today is take a look at every single Harumi minifigure that we have seen over the course of the show. Go through what they offer, what they don't offer. Are they worth the money? Are they not worth it? Should you get all of them or only one? All of those will be answered very soon. So let me not waste any more of your time, and let's look at the evolution of Harumi. And here they all are with each other, and like I said, they do represent basically every single time we saw them when it does come to Ninjago itself. All of these Harumi minifigures, I'm going to get immediately out of the way, are good. I think all of them have a lot of fantastic aspects to them, and I do think that is near enough undeniable. All of them vary in terms of what you could accessorize with them, but regardless, they all look fine without anything in general. I think it's immediately easy to say that if you do want a representation of Harumi over her entirety of the show, this would be a perfect lineup. All of them just completely work. They've actually accomplished giving us basically every form of Harumi that we would need. Well, maybe apart from Child Harumi. But I do think that all of them just serve as a fantastic little display piece when they're all next to each other. But let's look at them specifically, and I'm going to go in release order. Starting with Princess Harumi herself. This was her first entry and it was absolutely amazing to see. Coming in with the dark and the lighter green torso and legs, having that amazing looking cape and also the flared up top as well, and then having the Coco movie hairpiece readapted into the golden white to go along with the makeup face. All of the aspects of her come together amazing and have a fantastic array of detailing. She definitely does accomplish the look that she is setting out to do, which is to look like royalty. The only actual issue I have with her is down to the fact that we don't have the Emperor and Empress of the actual royal family themselves to go along with her. She does have the likes of Hutchins, which is a fantastic accessory in terms of the display, but I will say she still does stand up on her own. This was honestly one of my most desirable minifigures when the Sons of Garmadon wave released. It definitely just accomplishes this fantastic opening into the Harumi cycle, and I do think if the princess aesthetic is something that you do like, this was a definite nail on the head when it does come to Lego. They really did do really well here. The only downside, and I'll get more into this later, is that she has become very expensive. But besides that point, she was an amazing first addition to the Harumi collection, and certainly setting us up for what seems to be a fantastic line. We then move on to the following year where we got the hunted variant of Harumi. This one had a massive change up in terms of the overall design aesthetic, being that going from all of the green and the whites and the golds to the black, the blue and the red face. Going along as well with the let down hair is definitely the perfect addition when it does come to her. This minifigure is just amazing looking and honestly very fitting for the quiet one. Also having that dual-sided head, which does become standard practice, is another amazing thing. Having the more stoic expression but then having that aggressive look as well really does encapsulate Harumi's personality as a whole. Unfeeling, unemotional, and very much in a very sociopathic type state, but then along with deep-seated anger. It was the perfect combination when it did come to her, so again, Lego definitely did nail it. The only problem is the fact that that hairpiece doesn't allow for any sort of head rotation, but it is what it is, because I do think the hair is amazing regardless. But I do think in terms of the second edition, this Harumi was fantastic, and to this very day, still actually quite affordable. So that is definitely a plus sign. But this version is definitely a fantastic look for her, the longest running look, and definitely a very valued addition to the Harumi lineup. But we did get one more addition during this time. Coming from the Bricktober lineup of sets, we got Harumi with the Oni Mask of Hatred. This minifigure is personally one of my absolute favourites. The detailing and the printing here are astonishing. On every single side of her, you have these cracks, these details, and they look amazing. That grey along with the aspects of purple and the red really do accomplish something amazing here. It was Bricktober, so of course that we did get a lot more detailing, but it definitely does just show, along with the fact that the Oni Mask of Hatred here is a unique Oni mask as well, being a grinning look instead of the stoic one in the regular sets. This was honestly one of the most valued additions that we have ever seen when it does come to Ninjago. This is a fantastic look, and definitely does fit Harumi on an overall scale, even getting her own exclusive headprint on the underside. But in similar vein to Princess Harumi, this one is definitely an expensive addition. But again, more on that in a bit. But on an overall, this Oni Mask Harumi is definitely one of my personal favourites of all time. It really doesn't have any sort of issue whatsoever. It is amazing to display, amazing to mess about with, and just amazing in general. Again, just something that was fantastic, and one of the reasons why Bricktober needs to return. But after that came an addition that was fairly interesting and definitely unique. We got Avatar Harumi from the Prime Empire wave. This version of her being a massive shakeup and debatably isn't even canon because we don't know what that Harumi was when it does come to Prime Empire if you believe the theories. But this Harumi is a fantastic looking Harumi. Definitely taking on that different aesthetic with the orange like a prison jumpsuit. It really is fascinating. I think this is a very good way to have a Harumi that looks like an alternative universe, one where she does get imprisoned and she never escapes through Garmadon. You could have this as a version of her that was imprisoned and remained there. It's a cool representation on what could have been, so it is good for that. But she does blend in quite nicely with the rest of the Prime Empire wave. Looking nice, a very welcomed addition, and does fit in terms of the Avatar aesthetics. Spoiler alert, she is the cheapest of the lot, and for fair reason, because it is the least desirable version of her because all of the other ones are more important. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a nice Harumi. It is actually the last one I got of the lot, and I'm honestly kind of disappointed that I waited so long to get her. But I do still think, regardless of that, she is just another great one. One that I'm very happy to have in the collection, and definitely does make things feel more complete. But that was actually the last one we got for a while until we actually got to Crystallize, which gave us the crystallized variant of Harumi. This one is to represent her being powered up by the Overlord and does look amazing. A big departure from what we've had so far, introducing more purples, having a new head print as well. We got a lot more with Harumi this time round, and definitely is a very valued addition, especially if you do like the crystallized aesthetic. In a way, I honestly do kind of call this one the most unique Harumi. I know obviously Oni Mask Harumi exists, but it does make a lot of sense and is a byproduct of the mask itself. This is just how she looked for a fair whack of the season, and I honestly think it is really cool for that. When you do put her next to the likes of the rest of the Crystal Council, she really does just look cool. I really do think she is one of the most important members if you do want that as a display, but in terms of the Harumi display, it works. And what makes that even better is that she's actually the second cheapest Harumi in terms of all of these 7, which is just really nice. You get a fantastic Harumi for a fantastic price. But again, more on that later, I promise. It's gonna be at the end. But I do think this was just a good Harumi. A fantastic minifigure, and definitely one that I remember being excited for when the Crystallized Wave was revealed. Honestly, just continuing to show that these designs really are succeeding here. But funnily enough, that is where I personally thought at the time the Harumi lineup was going to end, but in recent time, they've actually been giving us Harumis in the modulars. So, starting off with the first one we got of that, we are going to look at the casual Harumi, going back to that original princess aesthetic. Seeing that dark and the light green return is amazing, and the addition of the new hair print for it, and also the new head print, was definitely a very valued addition here. Unfortunately, there isn't any sort of leg printing, which I think is a massive downside and should be in those larger sets, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But I do still think this design looks amazing. Pairing that along with the dual molded head, one having that very calm, very innocent looking face, and then the other one having the face that is very resemblant of when she becomes the quiet one in front of Lloyd, it really does accomplish something special here. Definitely has become one of my personal favorites. But again, it's another one of the more expensive editions, which is a massive downside, but I do think besides that, it is definitely going to end up being my personal favorite Harumi. I do think Oni Mask does have those amazing aspects, but there's just something about this one, something I like about it, and it might just stem from the fact that I really enjoy Season 8 when the ninja are just trying to stay away from the Sons of Garmadon, but that's beside the point. But this was an amazing one, but not the last, because it brings us into the current year of 2026 and the addition of this brand new Legacy Harumi. This design goes on to represent how she looks from Crystallize, where she isn't powered up by the Overlord. It is a very simple design and a very basic design, but definitely does still work. No leg printing again, but that's beside the point, but we do get to see some cool stuff, including a new head print, which is dual molded and unique in both ways. One side of it representing when she was the masked Kabuki warrior that was taunting the ninja, and the other one with that very quiet smile, representing that it's okay, she's with us. Ninja Cole just winced. But all we know is that regardless of the context behind it, it is very nice to get this dual molded head. Both sides look amazing and both of them do feel very valued here. Honestly, just a nice icing on the cake for a very nice looking Harumi. So in terms of a final addition to the roster, this was definitely a good one and is still fairly priced because it is new. I'm very happy that we got this design, and I do think it is, like all of the others, an extremely valued addition. Definitely does make things feel more complete because it does bridge the gap between all the designs. So in terms of the final one we're getting, this one definitely does work. Honestly, I don't know what other Harumis they could do at this point, so it's nice that they did do this one to potentially end it all off. But with all of those Harumis now looked at, it does ask a very begging question. Which are worth it, which are not worth it? Like I said, if you want a full Harumi collection, they're all there and none of them will disappoint you. But in terms of just getting a representation of Harumi, you have many options here, because some are very expensive and some are quite cheap. The expensive ones are right in front of you. Casual, Princess, and Oni Mask Harumi are the more expensive ones and will cause more harm. But you could always go for some of the cheaper Harumis if you did desire it. For example, Avatar if you like that aesthetic, the Legacy version, or even the Crystallized version. All of them, like I said, are absolutely fantastic and definitely do a good job at representing the character. But I do think whilst those are fantastic and the expensive ones are fantastic as well, I do think there is a much more appropriate middle ground if you do want one Harumi for your collection. And that is why from all of these Harumis, I'm most definitely going to recommend the Hunted Quiet One Harumi. This one is the perfect middle ground, the one that we saw the most, and I think it's just the best ratio of price to representation. This is a fantastic way to show off Harumi in any Ninjago collection, and it's definitely my biggest recommendation. Beyond that, I would honestly say Legacy, the completely brand new one, or Princess Harumi. But that's just me. But on an overall, this is just an absolutely fantastic line of minifigures, and the character has definitely had justice done when it does come to the physical minifigure department. But this is where I want to know what you think. What is your favourite Harumi? What is your least favourite Harumi? Do you own them all, or do you want to get your hands on some of them? I would love to know what you think, because I do think this is a fantastic lineup. But I'm going to pass it on to you guys, but I do hope you take this and you learn something new about these Harumis, because I definitely did. But besides that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of you, your support means the absolute world to me, and I truly cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that's about it for today, and take care. Okay,